Hi, good afternoon. I'm Boots Herrera, Director and Chief Curator of the Ateneo Art Gallery, and welcome to this afternoon's ArtSpeak online series. We also mark today the celebration of the Museums and Galleries Month for this October. For this afternoon session, we have invited an artist whose practice crosses over different forms, media, and even roles. Lena Cobangbang, born in 1976, graduated from the UP College of Fine Arts with a degree in studio arts. She has been an active player in the contemporary art community through her individual practice and collaborative art projects. The latter include collaborations with other artists such as Yasmin Sison, who together created the fictional identity Alice and Lucinda, and currently with Mike Crisostomo as the Weather Bureau. Lena's other roles include being a production designer, writer, curator, and art manager. She was part of the seminal artist collective Surrounded by Water, which was active in the 1990s. Lena received the fellowship at the 2008 HAO Summit for Emerging Artists, Curators, Art Managers, and completed a residency exchange with the Green Papaya Art Projects and Pekarna Magdalenske Mreze in Slovenia in 2010. She has been part of the touring exhibition Bastards of Misrepresentation, a project curated by Manuel Ocampo, which toured Berlin, Hamburg, New York, Bangkok, and France. For these projects, Lena participated both as artist, writer, and project manager. Lena was shortlisted into the 2005 Ateneo Art Awards and received the CCP 13 Artists Award in 2006. She participated in the 2008 Singapore Biennale and represented Post Gallery in the Markers exhibition section of the 2016 Art Dubai. In 2012, I was privileged to work with Lena when we invited her to be the curator and writer for the 2012 CCP 13 Artists Awards exhibition. There are more facets to her artistic practice, so let me give the virtual floor now to Lena Cobangbang. Lena?
Hi. Well, thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome and introduction. Thank you, Ateneo, for hosting this talk. How do I start with to talk about my practice, because it's so varied and broad. Let me start with showing a video I made to show what my practice is mostly focused on.
Hindi kita maintindihan, Amado. Hanggang ngayon ba naman ay umaasa ka pa na may mangyayari sa painting mong kagaguhan? Aba, mag-isip-isip ka. Ikaw ano? Pintor pulapol?
Ayos naman yung show, diba? Baka na lang sa bahay magtigil. Anong gagawin ko dito? Marami. Magluluto. Maglilinis. Mag-aalaga kay Jolo. Hindi na ako mag-art.
Sabi na naman ba? You cannot approach this with art.
Art. Sa simpleng salita, hindi ka artist. Pwedeng sa grupong to, ikaw ang pinakaseryoso sa art. Silido, nakadedikado. Pero isa lang ang problema, Pards. You're not an artist. O ano? Ba't wala nagsa-second demotion? Hindi ba damdamin natin lahat ang sinasabi ko rito?
Photograph is, well, it is the monograph for the eyes. Always, the eyes always photographing shit.
Let's look at the reality. Pilasin niyo ba ako ng ayok?
Okay, so that was my video work, the making of a bad copy that I made in early 2000 to 2001. So the video splices together scenes from the movie Mga Uod at Rosas. I don't know if you're familiar with that movie from the 80s. It's about a starving artist, a struggling artist trying to work his way through the scene, how to be successful. I guess that's mostly what the story of most artists are, right? Pero hinaluan ko siya ng eksena, real scenes from the art scene. But this was years ago. So ang pinaka sikat kasing linya dun yung "You're not an artist." So anyway, I've always yung parang I always go back to um, parang catering or fostering the community I'm in, which is the community I belong to, which is yun nga, yung contemporary art scene. And when I was asked parang what to talk about for, regarding my practice, malawak kasi siya. Dahil nga, as based dun sa introduction, I curate, I do collaborations, etc. But mostly it falls back on documenting the scene. So, uh, collaborations. I started doing collaborations with Yasmin Sison. College pa ako noon. Sila parang on their last year. And with Wire and Geraldine and Jonathan and Mariano and the rest of their batchmates are parang about to start or begin with Surrounded by Water. So, but kami ni Yasmin, meron kaming mini project. So, we started with, wait lang ha. We started with documenting the yun. We started with documenting the art scene with a zine. Kasi this scene is actually parang commission to us by Asia Online through Jonathan. Tapos si Yasmin introduced me to doing zine. So why not? And this affords me to go to as many events as possible para may excuse din na maglakwatsa. So this was the zine that Yasmin Sison then. Ngayon, Yasmin Sison Ching na siya ngayon. This was the zine that we made. So it's called Lunar Landing. Photocopied, and most of the covers are done by parang silk screen in collaboration with Mariano Ching. Then, so yung content ng zine namin, meron kaming art reviews, exhibit reviews pala, comics reviews, basta kung ano, no, umabot lang din kami sa parang nakailang ano ba kami, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, ayun, 6, actually 7 issues. Kasi later on, marami na kami ginagawa. Naging busy na rin sa pag-show. Ayun. Tapos, minsan sinisingitan namin yung zines namin ng comics or film reviews. Yun. So, simultaneously, while doing the zines, we had our first project and exhibit also. So actually, itong show na to, The Incredible Lives of Alice and Lucinda, shown in Angono in 1998. This was supposed to be a proposal also for an audition, proposal audition to MTV. Ano ba yun? Una pa sila magkakaroon ng ano eh, ng parang reality show. So naghahanap sila nun ng parang host. Kalimutan ko na yung title ng
MTV
show. But
Philippines to.
yeah, for
Oo.
MTV Philippines. Their office was in Ortigas.
Mhm.
Anyway, hindi kami, we didn't make the cut. So,
Sayang.
ginawa na lang namin na show siya. So, parang intervening um, and commentary on media na parang Cindy Sermon din. So, we dress up in different personas and characters na ayun, playing on parang ano, papaka-artista. And then, may installation component siya. So, may parang multimedia siya. So, may video, may stills, and dun sa installation, eto, all the clothes that we used in all the shoots that we did, masusot din ng mga gallery goers. Yan, tapos magpipicture sila. And yun nga, kasi incredible life. So parang you're lending the virtual life. So wala pa yung ano nito, yung, I guess parang ano to, proto celebrity culture. But in a way, parang we're also commenting on that proto social media. Ayun, kasi we're nasa generation kami na nasa cusp nung nagsisimula or hindi pa ganun kabilis yung internet
Yeah.
and cable TV.
Mm-mm.
So, we're at that stage. So, yeah, going on dun sa parang more on the parang
Nako.
commenting on celebrity culture, we also had this project called Stars on 45. Nako, yung reference ng Stars on 45, I guess that
Di ba
date that really
70s
dates
yun?
us how old we are. Because that's a compilation of disco hits ng
Oo.
70s yan na pare-pareho yung tunog. So anyway, eto na naman kami playing dress up. Pero kasi when we were, ano ba yan? In our early 20s, crazy pa at masipag pa. Pakaloka-loka. So, ayun, papaka-fangirl kami. Pupunta kami sa mga shows at hinahabol namin yung mga, para sa amin, mga sikat na artist at naghingi-hingi ng photograph at ano
Nagpapapose.
yun? Nagpapa-pose. So, wala pang selfie. So, yung selfie namin, "Uy, ikaw, kumuha ka nga niyan." Picture namin. So, yun. Ewan ko.
So you have
Hindi
here
na
si Danny
This is
Delena,
Dani. This is Medeo. This is
Deo,
Johnny.
Johnny
This is
Alcasaran,
Oo.
Agnes
These are all
Arellano.
taken in CCP. And then, since, yun nga, we have surrounded by water. So, if we are able to invite mga very established artists, di jackpot, no? Andun na sila sa space namin, nagawa pa namin yung, ano namin, yung project namin na to. And then, this one, we made for Ayala Museum for a show Space Beating Place curated by Ana Labrador. This was the project was was parang this was done before the old Ayala Museum was
Was closed.
demolished to be
Oo.
renovated. Oo. So we proposed to work with the dioramas. I hope you are familiar with the dioramas in Ayala Museum kasi that was the parang showcase nila nun eh. Pag estudyante ka, pupunta ka dun para makita mo yung mga diorama that depicts these scenes in Philippine history. So, we approached the carvers ng mga diorama figures and had figures of us carved para nandun din kami sa history. Like, we are traveling in space and time and being there in that particular period in history. So, ayan, dineclare yung martial law, andun kami. At saka, ako ko anong gera to.
Ano yata yan Japanese War eh. Oo,
I think
yung
so.
World War II. And then, yung sa gitna, si Romeo ba yan? Romeo Lee ang kasama nyo?
No. This was
hindi ba?
just
Forma niya eh.
okay. Or kami yan. Hindi pa namin na-encounter si
Okay.
Romeo.
Wala pa. Okay.
Actually, kasi kami rin yung generation na pumupunta ng Bambang, ng mga ukay-ukay. Yung pala rin yung impetus ng aming mga adventures. Mahilig din kasi kami mag-ukay-ukay. Ayun. Tsaka tipid eh. Yun lang yung mga damit namin. So, showcase to, nung ilan yung figures na pinagawa namin. Kasi, no, para maano yung meron pang background, middle ground, and foreground. So, there were 3 pairs. So, we were dressed in typical tourist get-up na, yun nga, Hawaiian shirt and shorts. And that bucket hat. Yun. Then, maraming taon, ito pala, teka, bago yan. So, we also did a documentary looking for graffiti. Hindi pa siya graffiti artist actually eh. So, this was a time ng mga early 2000, late 90s to early 2000 since simultaneous nga no, while we are looking for materials, shopping for clothes, doing research for the content of our zine, may nakikita kami dun sa kalsada ng Maynila na nakalagay sa Lengga, a Filipino discovered the electron is positive. Actually, this was the produced video documentary about this search was shown 3 weeks earlier dun sa MCAD program with Merv and Sherin, yung light leaks. Oo. So, parang since fictional, meron kaming fictional alter ego that we insert in history, in media. So, parang ini-insert din namin yung sarili namin, yung parang fictional alter egos namin dun sa pag-search kung totoo nga tong tao na si Salenga. And nobody has seen him, or kung meron man, parang ang vague. So that's the subject of the video na parang hearsay lang or eyewitness lang, but no one has seen him talaga. So the whole project produced mga parang tawag dito text messages with Salenga kasi nakuha namin yung number, and then the interviews and tawag dito stills of other of his writings on the walls of Manila, and the other writings made by hindi naman graffiti artist, basta parang mga prophetic writings. Kasi nung araw daw sa Luneta maraming mga wala pa kasing Facebook noon, kaya nagdedebate sila sa Luneta. At ang post talaga nila ay sa mismong pader.
Naka-post.
So the anonymity, andun pa rin yung anonymity. Oo. But then it becomes more parang legendary na because everyone has seen their post pero no one has seen them actually write, or if they did, iba-iba na yung yung parang it changes yung veracity nung fact kung nakita nila talaga or hindi. Yun. So many years has passed doing collaboration since Yasmin had a family. Ako, maraming projects in between, and because she's also based in Cavite, so mas mahirap ng mag-usap doing collaboration. When we had a chance to do a residency in Jogja, Karta in 2016, naisip namin ibalik yung Alice and Lucinda, since the show was also a reunion of Surrounded by Water artists. So we also did the reunion of Alice and Lucinda. For this, we did a calendar, uh, us posing in different tourist spots in Jogjakarta. Yun. Mga cute mga manang na kami dyan. Ayun. So, in between nga, kasi yun nga, while she's raising her family and concentrating on her art practice, isa sa mga naging racket ko is mag-work sa production as art director, production designer, and stylist, props ba lahat-lahat na. So, I guess, parang natural na sa akin that I work with people. Wala namang magagawa, lalo na pagtrabaho. Hindi. Tsaka, nung kausap ko rin kasi si Gary Pastrana, another artist who's a batch younger than me sa UP, kasi he mostly does installation art and conceptual art. Naging racket din niya ang mag-production design, pati rin si Poklong. So, nagkasabay-sabay kami nag-work din sa Furball. Furball is a production house that Poklong Anading is also part of. So, yung discipline din nung working in a production setup, mabilis, iniisip lagi yung context or yung space na gagalawan, kung anong hinihingi. So, theme. So, I don't know if it's practice or concurrent lang din dun sa artistic practice tsaka yung sa work that to earn money. So mostly my project is with Furball and Originate. And yun, si Christina Diden, nakakasama ko rito. And then some of the works na I do din with sa production finds its way din sa sarili ko work. Like this background sa Archipelago na music video, since gumawa na ako ng diorama ng mga plane crash, ang galing nga eh. So na-compose it nila. Di ba, magastos naman gumawa ng actual plane na nag-crash, no? So, ayan, kinompose it nila yung miniature ng plane crash na ginawa ko. So, para hindi rin sayang yung ginawa kong diorama, I made a series na rin of the, ng photos nitong plane crash. Ayun. So, ano ba ako si segue? So, yun, tuloy-tuloy siya. And then eventually, kasama ko rin kasi sa production work si Mike Crisostomo. He's also from UP. So, yun din kasi pag when you work in a production, you meet, I meet a lot of different kinds of people sa music, sa film, sa kung ano-ano pa. Yun. So, around mid-2000, since we have been working with together sa work as production design, tinayo namin yung weather bureau. Yun. So, nagsimula rin kami, gumagawa ng ganyan production work. Pero, parang napansin namin, since parehas mahilig kami sa sci-fi, mas mga kinukuha namin project is mas papunta dun, mas sci-fi related. Yun. Then we had our first show, yung Experiments in Degree Zero. Etong tatlong pictures na to and this one. Ito, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are from our first project na Experiments in Degree Zero. Na these are miniatures. Parang gumagawa kami ng mga disasters or basta parang kasi pag gumagawa ka ng miniature parang lahat nakokontrol mo. So, yun. Pero I chose to show more kasi yung behind the scene para talagang pakita yung pagka-fake nung nung paano ba? Pagka-fake nung work, hindi naman pagka-fake nung work, yung
No, constructed
artificial,
siya.
yung yung artificiality at yung construct ng quality ng photos. Yun. So like teka, sorry, nag-skip ako. Ayan. So we have sketches how to pero fantastic din yung pag-sketch namin eh. Hindi namin nagawa. So parang kasi inisip namin, paano ba magpabagyo? 'Di ba? Paano ba gumawa ng ipo-ipo? So, sige, gelatin para tsunami. Tapos, condensation, lagay mo sa aquarium. So, actually, naman, para lang kami ding naglalaro. So, enjoy rin namin tong ginagawa namin to. Then, itong project namin to is sa Vietnam. Actually, ako lang pala yung nakalipad niyan. Tapos, pero nag-uusap pa rin kami remotely dun sa project. So, ginawa ko, napag-isipan namin, since sa Vietnam, sobrang, nung food culture nila, naisip ko gumawa ng landscape na food, but at the same time, makakain din na para di sayang. So, nagpa-hotpot. Oo. So, tapos mahilig sila sa atsara. So actually yan, mga, kunyari, mga dreamy landscape, they're actually para mga atsara. Yun. So, ongoing pa rin naman yung work namin, pero parang natigil muna kasi gusto yung mag-concentrate sa sarili niyang art practice. Ako naman, parang nag-isip pa ako kung ano pang magagawa, lalo na parang nauuso ngayon yung parang bothered ako dun sa reality ngayon ng artificiality. Mabilis yung post-truth era ngayon. And yung deep fake. So parang dun ako nadi-disturb if we keep on continuing this kind of work in line with what's happening right now. So, muna, reflect muna. Yun. So, all the while, parang hindi ako makontento na dapat lagi may kasama na work. Tsaka, yung pag-organize ng shows, this was, hindi naman parang biglaan lang siya. This was brought on by, when we had our own art spaces now that started with Surrounded by Water and then eventually sa Future Prospects with Louis Cordero, Gary Pastrana, Kokoy Lumbao. This was in Cubao X in 2005, around that time. And since mentor din namin si Sir Chabet, parang malakas yung pag-push sa amin to create our own shows kasi even sa school, yun din yung inaano sa amin, how to, kasi when we do, parang pag nag-create ng artwork, kailangan ilang lugar namin siya. Ano yung form, saang space, how does it relate to space, and yung sa pag-relate sa space, ano yung magiging overall content and message niya na gusto mong parating? Anong gusto mong maparamdam dun sa viewer while walking around that work in that particular space? So, I guess that drove us also to really conceptualize our shows from the ground up. So from doing the exhibit invite, from thinking of the title to who's going to be included in the show in line with dun sa tema ng show, parang all things considered siya. So nadala namin yun. Tapos yun yung naging practice pa namin dun sa, yun nga, dun sa Surrounded by Water and all those artisan spaces that I have been involved with. Tapos, ngayon, parang currently, since, ano na rin siya, pinagkakakitaan ko. Well, not really pinagkakakitaan, or parang source of income. Yun. Yun. So, like this, it's a pet show. Hindi naman pet show, but, about animals. Ito naman, plants. So, Venus in first. This was in Project 20. Ito kasi, kaya naisip ko talaga na plants siya. Dahil organic restaurant din kasi si Green Daisy. Tapos, so, kasabay daw namin ka-show si Ronald at Chacoso. Ronald at Chacoso is into
Plant conservation.
Plant conservation, and he's the parang plant curator or forest curator ng Pinto.
Yung arboretum.
So might as yung sa arboretum. So might as well, 'di ba? Sama na. And ito, this photo here is the last one that I curated sa Art Informal last January. Ano nga ba yun? So, I was thinking na since beginning of the year, hopeful sana, an alternative intake and exhaust combustion and expansion. So, opening night, kinaumagahan, pumutok yung vulkan. At ito na tayo. Pero, syempre, we should not stop hoping pa rin for better times. Oo. So, I get invited to organize shows, so make shows, also for commercial spaces. Ito, so, as I've said, considered yung invite, yung title, the theme, etc., etc. So, this is mostly women artists, pero younger. Young emerging artists. Kasi parang I'm also giving opportunity dun sa younger emerging artists to have a platform then to show, syempre. Oo. Parang big deal din to kasi na parang sa art center, art center used to be where we had shows before na malalaking group shows with Mr. Chabet. Parang, medyo matagal lang hindi nagkakaroon ng ganitong opportunity. So, under Gallery Ana, pinaglaruan ko na lang talaga yung space. Kahit ito, my God, sang katutak na argumento to. Pero, ganun.
What year was this?
2015.
2015, there.
2015. Ayan, tinumba ko talaga yung yung panos nako. Tapos, teka ha, may papakita kasi ako kasi as much as possible, I want to karamihan kasi parang wala na halos documentation ng mga shows. Ginagawan ko na rin siya ng catalog in a form of zine. So, documentation pa rin. So, kahit simple lang na ganito, na nakikita ba? Is it being shared?
Hindi. Nasa PowerPoint pa rin tayo. Stop share mo muna. Mag-stop share ka and then you can share that other
tama.
other screen.
Sorry.
Okay lang. So, habang nag-aano tayo, ayan na.
This one.
Imbita ka ba uli ng Gallery Ana after that?
Ha?
Inimbita ka ba ulit?
Maraming kwento eh.
Oh, sige.
Basta,
okay.
Masaya ako. Gawa ko siya. Masaya naman yung mga artist. Is by ganito. Kasi yung ano rin, yung title ng show is Bull and the Heather. It's from a Sonic Youth song. So, excited naman yung mga artist na makasama. So, parang women empowerment na ayokong corny. Tapos, parang nakikita ko rin kasi like, for their generation, like, early 20s, mid-30s, or early 30s, they're at that stage na, of course, yung full expression ba nung practice nila as women. And I think it's a great introduction then for them. Yung magsimula sa ganun. So it's mixed, may mga illustrators and parang yung paano ba yun? Matagal na lang artist pero bihira mag-show. So parang ganun. Yun. I mean, kahit simple lang na yung you have their short bio and konting description ng work nila for the show, and then you have photos. I mean, that's basic enough, no? Pero at least meron. Kasi na-inspire din ako rin sa kailan ba? Balik ako dito sa parang natigil kasi yung tawag dito. Hindi naman natigil. Parang simula kasi nung nagkaroon ng social media, everyone has migrated to sharing or posting online. Tapos, may nababalitaan ako na may nagsisimula pa rin pala ng zine, like yung mga batch nila, although hindi naman ganun kalayo yung edad nila, Alan Balisi and Dina Gadia from us. Parang na-inspire naman ako na, wow, at least tinutuloy pa rin nila. So nakaka-engganyo naman na ganun. So, eto nakita nyo.
Oo. I-play. Ayan. I-presentation view.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So, yun. So, these are some of the more recent ones nga na inorganize ko na shows. So, eto, para emphasizing, parang work na rin para sa akin kasi yung tsura nga ng exhibit invite. So, Tender Buttons, that was from kay Gertrude Stein na work, na literary work. Yun. Ito, mostly women artist na naman siya. So, ito rin. Bale kasi, parang napapansin ko rin, na tawag dito. Yung mga ginagawa kong show, parang ini-investigate ko rin yung mga medium na interesado ako. So, like, kung craft and objects, parang gusto ko rin kasi nalalaman yung ginagawa ng ibang artist in relation dun sa gusto ko rin gawin in terms of that medium. So, ayan, tinahi ko pa talaga.
Ikaw nagtahin yun. Galing.
Nawawala na nga eh. Kung napamigay ko na. Ewan ko. Basta OC ako. So, yun. And, ito sa AI. So, ito parang mini bastards of misrepresentation siya. Lessons in diplomacy. So, parang, yung ngayon, yung art statements niya, ginawa ko siyang parang ganito. Parang protest. Parang protest posters. Ayun. Kasi reactionary din tong ginawa kong show na to eh. Pero mahabang kwento, saka na lang.
Or later.
Yeah. And yeah. So this one, this is one of the parang earlier shows that I've organized for Pablo Gallery before I worked for them, and it's called Heriting. sila yung pumili ng artist. Pero, buti na lang, mga kilala ko rin sila. Tapos, I tend to relate it to music pa rin. So, instead of doing an art talk, ito, kaya may playlist ito, this part, is a list of songs na ginawan ko ng video ke playlist. Na sabi ko, let's do away with the usual art talk. So, kung anong gusto nyo sabihin, kantahin nyo na lang. So, yeah. At least para, 'di ba? Mas engaged din. Mas engaged din yung yung mga gallery goers. Yun. Kasi baka minsan may mga artist nahihiya silang mag-talk. Yun. Yun. So, um, going back, yun nga, na nagkaroon ng parang zine, parang second renaissance of zine publishing. So, gumawa ulit ako ng zines. Pero, parang I see naman kasi as zines parang art projects eh. Kasi, nakikita ko, yung artworks or art projects don't necessarily have to be exhibited or framed in a gallery. So, para sa akin din, yung paggawa ng zine is very immediate, especially when I'm reacting to certain current issues. So, kaya Color Your Rage, yan, so colorful adventures. But at the same time, yun na naman, these are documentation ng tawag dito, of the art scene, of the community. Then, from a show I did in Archivo, sorry, nakalimutan na eh. So, syempre, gumawa pa rin ako ng zine. So, yung kaibigan ko, gumawa ng sorry, ang likot ng kamay ko. Gumawa ng napakahabang habang write-up na worth isang zine. So, ayun. Tsaka kasi sa Archivo, nagtaka rin ako kasi I thought Archivo is mostly concerned with archiving kasi they have been showing mga works sila Vic de Lotavo, parang mga retrospective. So parang, wow, I'm at this stage na parang I have to do a sort of, parang I'm qualified to do a retrospective na of my show. So, ayun. So I just did an archiving or documentation of my works and compiled it here in the two zines. So this is one of the first zines. And ito yung isang zine. Di naman talaga zine. Parang kasi maganda yung pagka-produce eh. These documents the works I've done na hindi ko na alam kung saan ko, ayan, tama, forgotten or went missing. Ayun. So,
Lena,
it's a
meron lang
record.
just to one of the attendees is asking clarification yung you're referring to, you mentioned zine. So can you, kasi may mga high school students tayo. Can you just explain what is meant by zine? Z-I-N-E.
Sure. Sorry.
Yung form.
Zine, short for magazine.
Magazine, yes.
Usually, in the form is the size of a half bond paper or half of A4 size paper. And this was parang self-published magazine. So that's why I call it zine, personal zine. But this was made by, this was introduced earlier by sci-fi fans. So that's where they talk about the books and films that they have seen and share information with other fans. So actually, the whole term is from fanzine, fan magazine.
Zine.
So, but now it can be the content or subject matter of the fanzine is not limited to talking about a particular um, idol or movie, etc. Because it can now encompass or contain just images or comics or essays or literature. So the zine has now become a general term for anything that is self-published in that
Format.
parang in that particular size. Yeah, that is usually photocopied and
Mm.
staple binding. Yun.
Yeah.
Yun. Now,
Okay.
you now have rhizo prints
Yes,
or
on.
digitally printed. Some are in limited quantities, some are
Mhm.
in unlimited quantities. So this one is rhizo printed by bad student.
Mm.
Yun. Yun. Kasi
Um,
before, uh, actually, the earlier zines that I have encountered with the punk scene here in Manila, um, they are rhizo printed. Kasi rhizo
mm.
print, you can produce as much for very cheap.
Yes. Para siyang mimeograph eh, di ba?
This is, oo. So
Mm.
earlier pa, there were the mimeograph.
Mm.
Oo. Pero, ano siya, it's limited to just black.
Mm.
But you can produce as much kasi per rim yun eh. Ang ano nun is
Mm.
one rim. Yun. Pero ang dami naman yung sobra.
Oo.
Parang pamigay. Grabe. Ayun. So, okay
Sorry,
naman na you
itong this particular declassified field notes, you were referring earlier to the text written by Masi?
yeah.
Oo,
For the show.
I actually read it and it was quite interesting. It captures yung ano ng practice mo eh.
Oo, parang actually, she made a parallel of my practice in the art scene in general.
Mm.
So parang she made a parallelism. So sayang I don't have a copy anymore. So that's why may libreng plugging sa artbooks.ph.
Oo. So if you want
Is that
to get a copy, there.
so this is a great bookstore that carries or sells um art zines
Art
like this
publications.
and art publications. And Filipiniana publications so
Mm-mm.
actually. Yun. So, these are the other zines that I made that are also available there. And, yeah. So, in line with um, doing work about the scene, about the community that I belong in, I chose this too. This is a paint, parang color by number paint box that I saw from souvenir shop being sold in Ayala Museum. And it has on the cover a painting of Amorsolo. And it says paint like Amorsolo. So parang funny naman nun. So I might as well just, paint or have people paint the people in the art scene. So yeah. Yeah, paint like a painter. How do you paint like a painter? I don't know. And then this is an ongoing project. The pictures below is called 200 pin drops. It started in, kailan ba ako naging 13 Artist Award?
2006 ang ano,
6. Oo. So,
14 years
um,
ago.
oh my God, 14 years ago. Madali buhay. Kaya ginawa ko, sige kukunan ko na lang ng picture yung mga kakilala ko sa art scene and make miniature standee of them. So pin drops, so 'di ba? Pin drops
Mm-mm.
parang they all have contributed somehow to the scene. So I started with 200 in 2006. And then syempre habang as the years move on, dumadami rin yung mga involved sa art scene. So parang the last I updated this work, it now has become 2,000, 4,000.
Mm.
4,000 pin drops na siya. So, yun.
yung photograph that we're seeing now, it was installed at the CCP show, no? This was
Um,
in 2014 for the
yeah,
tribute show for Roberto Chabet.
ano na to, parang second
Second
iteration.
na, oo. And then the latest one was at Archivo, right?
Archivo. Ay,
Was it?
oo!
Oo, it was in that
Third.
show in Archivo. I remember
That was the,
seeing, that's the third?
wait. Second, and then there was the paper show by Leslie de Chavez in
Mm.
his art
As a,
space in
project, Space
no,
Pilipinas.
Project Space Pilipinas, yes. So third, yeah. Tapos, and then dun sa Archivo, that was the fourth
Fourth,
iteration.
okay.
Yeah. And then someone commissioned me to make for his collection. So dumami
Mm.
na naman kasi nagpadagdag siya. Sama mo si ganito, si ganyan.
Sino kaya yun? Pwedeng matanong kung sino o mamaya.
After na lang.
After, sige.
Okay naman siya. So yun.
Mm.
So there, sama ko daw yung socials ko.
Yes. Oo. So for those of
This
our
is me on
attendees who want to follow you.
This is me on Facebook. This is me on Instagram. And this is the page that group I manage or do admin stuff on
Mm-mm.
Facebook. This is Lockdown Art was made specifically for this time, for this quarantine time. So it's where artists share their artworks or links, essays, whatever, in line with how they cope with the lockdown and with the quarantine. And I also belong to this group, Lost Frames, where we have been part of Activista Film Festival, Human Rights Film Festival, 2 weeks ago.
Mm-mm.
So, saling pusa lang ako dito, but the core members are Poklong Anading, Kokoy Lumbao, Rico and Tico, and
Vic Balanon?
Victor Balanon. So it's a screening and discussion group. So for yan, these are the you can follow if we have this page for future screenings.
Mm-mm.
Yun. So there.
Okay. Wow, thank you. Definitely your practice is multi-directional, I would say, at the very least, no?
Yes.
So I want to remind the attendees via Zoom and through our Facebook Live page. Please send us write your questions in the Q&A box or in the Facebook chat box, and we will receive it eventually. No, it will be posted here. Siguro, let me just start. I have a few questions I have here. I'm glad that you mentioned about that your generation is at the cusp. I think that's very true, no? Yung between analog and digital. Tapos even the art scene was changing, no? It underwent major changes. Siguro my first question is, in hindsight, why were artist-run spaces relatively common in the mid-1990s to the late 1990s? What was lacking? What were the conditions in the art scene that led young artists like yourself and your contemporaries to decide on creating these spaces? Because it was not just surrounded. You have Big Sky Mind, and then yung Future Prospects later, and I think a few more.
I think it's not just focused in the Philippines. I think it's a global thing. I think it has something to do also with um, global economics. I don't know if this was the time also of recession. Then ba in the 90s?
Yeah, I think
And
regional
there was an implosion also of the art market. Although dito sa Philippines, wala pa talaga masyado. Mostly that are being bought was the abstraction. Well, nagsisimula yung mga social realist, di ba? So, that's post-EDSA. I think yung impetus din ng post-EDSA na there had been more, syempre, freedom to um, create spaces. Kasi prior to us, there was a batch nila, sino to? Sila Eng, yung junk shop.
Oo. Yeah. Eng Chan, no?
Oo. Oo, Eng Chan. And
Tama.
conspiracy. Kasi if it's not, if it's not just talaga artisan spaces, you have bars that also acts as space, like conspiracy bar nga,
Right.
where they had the latang Pinoy. So,
Mm.
these were the spaces that we go to when we were in college, in art school. So parang following from there na, oh, they can do it. We can show in such a space. It's not a snobby. Parang that inspired us, that influenced us. Plus, yung hearing stories from the initiative of Shop 6 nila Sir
Nila
Chabet.
Chabet.
Yeah, so yun. So,
Yeah, I remember shop surrounded by water had you had the space somewhere along EDSA, right?
Yeah, that was the second
second na yun.
that was the second space. The first one, actually the first one was mostly a project ni Wired Wason. Happens that they have a space, a shop space along the highway.
Sa Angono.
And sa Angono. And very accessible kasi you just stop by the jeep and that's it. That's the space already. And that time 5,000 lang ang renta. Wala pang SM kasi along the way.
Okay, mamaya na yung question ko. May isang question, no? Speaking of spaces, this is a question from Gino Estela. Speaking of spaces, how do you get around to building one? What do you think should be given importance when building or fostering art communities? Parang two parts yung question niya. Building one in terms of structure, I'm not sure, or maybe a community.
In terms of a physical one, wala akong masasagot dyan. Kasi hindi naman ako architect, no? Kasi from my experience, we just occupy what's available. And we were just lucky that we are given these spaces in happenstance na and then we make the most of that space. And I think these spaces come about where most artists usually live and hang out. So like yung space sa Cubao, it's a given. It's where people hang out. So ando na, may community ka na. Kailangan mo lang magkaroon ng lugar para magkita-kita sila. Para mas
ng activity, no?
Para mas komportable din silang gumawa ng kahit anong bagay. So, it works both ways eh. Na parang, but I think the local or geography parang it dictates already kung sino-sino na yung nandun. Tapos kasi ngayon, it can be a bahay ng artist that is converted to an artist space. Katulad nung ginawa nila Mark Salvatos sa Loaded because that used to be their house that she shares with Mayumi. So, ngayon, nag-allot na lang sila ng space for activity. So, how do you
how do you foster art what should be given importance when fostering art communities?
Siyempre yung tao. Yung tao. Kasi sila naman yung kasi pwede kang, andyan, maganda nga yung lugar, pero hindi naman nakakapunta yung mga tao. Ngayon. Tapos, Kasi ngayon, di ba, since we are limited physically, we cannot go out and we cannot gather as many people as we want in one place physically. So kahit siguro online, you can build a community already. I think
Mm.
that's what we are trying to do with the lockdown art page
Yeah.
and with the other one na mas may political message, yung Tugon Filipino
Mm.
artist creatives on lockdown.
Mm.
So doon pa rin, mas pag pinapakinggan mo kung anong kailangan ng tao, I guess doon na magfo-follow kung ano yung magiging physical space o yung ilalagay mo doon sa physical space. Gusto mo ba merong um, may refrigerator, may kitchen, merong pang projection. So, yun, it's mostly the people talaga.
When you say people, the artists involved in the group and the community, the public.
Yeah, community audience. Pero usually naman with regards to artist run spaces, the those who are involved is already the parang the community that they address. Kaya
Mm.
nga nila ginawa nila yung art space na yun. Kasi primarily, sinasagot nila, yung space yun, sinasagot ko yung kailangan nung founders. And eventually, that will resonate na rin dun sa nakararami.
And the Cubao experience actually was quite successful, no? In that sense, kasi, di ba, imagine, siguro, maybe can you share what was it like in the early years when alam ko kasi for a while, di ba, parang hindi na pinupuntahan yung lugar na yon. Tapos nung
Kasi,
nagkaroon ng mga art spaces, naging na-gentrify yung ano. Naging
kasi in the
popular.
early years, when bigger malls were being built, namamatay yung eksena dun sa Marikina. Shoe Expo. It was called Shoe Expo for a reason because that's where we used to buy shoes.
Made in
Shoes
Marikina.
na made in Marikina. Most of the products that are being sold in our malls and in our department stores are now imported. So, it nag-downgrade o na-degrade yung lugar when that happened around 90s, early 2000. So, the owner who still wanted to parang make something out of that space, they offered the spaces na vacated by shops that have closed. And it was very cheap then. So, parang it's a movement, that formal movement na we have occupied the space there, and then Avi Kilagan and some of the Mobile Fund people also had space there, and then Pong, who's also a filmmaker, had a space there. Si Jeremy, yung
Gieb.
first, Jeremy Gieb, yung shop niya, and then Tara Ellenberger with Chunky Farflang, that also exhibits, and Pablo. Pablo, that's the first space of Pablo then. So parang, in that sense, na hindi naman kami nagkilala nung una, nagkakilala na rin kami doon dahil doon sa space. And dahil siguro lahat kami na-attract, meron kaming naging parang similar aims or gusto na mangyari doon sa lugar.
Parang vision dun sa ano.
Oo, na simple lang naman na quarterly o kung may Halloween, magkakaroon ng simultaneous exhibit na parang mini festival. So,
and you had art raffles, ano? Naalala ko may mga art raffle fundraising yata sa ano, some of your projects.
Yes. Na fundraisers then, we also had a couple of those fundraisers in surrounded by water. Kasi we had to save the space. So, medyo kinakapos na. Syempre, we're all at the beginning of our careers, hindi pa masyadong nakabenta. So, konti lang ang benta nun. So, it's medyo pipe dream yung magtayo ng gallery na we get by the sales, from the art sales.
I wonder kung meron bang nagsulat na about the history of the story of the Cubao X, ano? I think
Wala.
that's quite an important parang part segment in the contemporary art scene, no? So maybe you
Oo,
should
but
being one of the
I
another
wasn't
project that you can work on.
oo nga, actually nakabinbin pa pala yun. I have this
Mm-mm.
project pala about documenting Cubao. Andiyan lang siya. I have the contributor. I haven't gotten around to doing a layout of it
Mhm.
kasi ang dami nalilito ko. So many things have happened. I guess I
Oo.
should get someone.
Yeah, maybe that's I think that's a project worth pursuing. Maybe we
Ah,
can
yes.
let's if
I
HAO
thought nga I can
can
do this.
help,
I can do it
natin.
during this lockdown eh. Kaso,
Daming ginagawa
may,
pa rin.
biglang may sumingit, maraming sumingit.
Maraming fundraising, no? You've been involved in a
Yeah,
number of
quite.
fundraising projects also.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Sige, let me just read a few comments, no, from the Facebook page.
Mhm.
Crindle Garcia, ano to, you can see the changes happening through the years at Cubao Expo. I miss those days that Miss Lena mentioned. Lomo exhibition, Lomo
Yeah.
exhibits, film showings at Mogwai, and the art and music scene. Then sports and games happened. I don't know what she meant by that.
Ay, yung mga mga nerd places. Sorry for the
Ah,
term, but yeah.
okay. We also have a viewer from the Pitan,
Wow, hi.
Sofia Bogolbok. Okay. Um, Let me ask another question. No? Yung role mo as or your practice, part of your practice as a curator. It's interesting how you traced it back to your training during your student days, which I think made sense, no? Parang naintindihan ko rin, I understand also the practice of other artist curators who have had a similar parang training. Sila Nilo, sila Jerry, no? Um, with today's art scene, what do you think is the role of the artist curator? Um, do you think it's an important role that needs to be more visible?
Ngayon, with the current crisis that's
Well,
ongoing,
current crisis and also yung siguro before the lockdown na yung art scene was booming. Um, yung
ah,
role mo. Kasi yun na nga, in relation to the example, the projects that you showed earlier,
mhm, mhm,
with commercial art spaces. Ano
mhm.
yung how did you see your position as artist curator? Kasi commercial
Um,
space siya, tapos ano.
yeah, parang specifically for those kind of spaces, parang
Mm-mm.
ang role ko doon was trying to expand the the mandate or parang hindi naman yung vision, yung
Yung scope.
platform
Mm-mm.
yung scope nung gallery. Kasi I'm already given that opportunity, might as well use it,
Mm-hmm.
no? Kasi tsaka lalo na ngayon parang artist curators, I mean, there's a difference with just curators.
Mm-mm.
Because curators are mostly um, parang mas nakakabit siya sa mas academic
Mm-mm.
yung
Mm-mm.
training din nila at saka yung pag-present nila ng work na mas may historical um, tawag dito context, etc. Pag kasi as artist curators, it's also a way to reflect back on one's own practice and
Mm-mm.
how he or she sees themselves in the wider scene.
Mm-hmm.
Where does their own practice fit in that general scene? No? So parang that can be fully utilize na you organize shows that will expound more on ideas.
Mhm.
So, kasi when a gallery ask you to do shows, syempre, an artist is limited to what is marketable or sellable.
Mm.
Whereas, pero, well, minsan, ako rin, I'm forced to compromise, to balance things out, to balance works out, na ano yung maglalagay ng sellable, but at the same time, you put something that plays also with the space and with the idea. So you stretch it also. Para, I don't know, um, gusto rin kasi ng artist din maglaro eh.
Mm.
Siyempre
Yeah.
ayaw rin nilang nakakahon. So
Mhm.
I guess as artist curator, you 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 bring out that that chance or opportunity.
Oo. Opportunities both for the gallery and the artist, no? Parang
On the
it's a
artist.
meeting
Oo.
place.
Parang yung curator kasi can act as a mediator
Creator.
between the two. Oo.
Um, you mentioned projects that you've done as curatorial projects that focused on where you featured women artists. Um, is do you find it do you find it an issue? Is it difficult for you being a woman artist in the art scene today? Kasi I think if we go by the numbers, maraming babaeng artist na ngayon, no? Compared to before. Pero it's not just about numbers. Is there, do you feel that there is still yung hindrances sa mga babaeng artists, or wala na? We're more open. Ano yung siguro yung experience mo as an artist and as a curator?
Para wala na. Pero
Mm-mm.
kasi noon, parang nagsisimula ako, I don't see it naman as ewan ko lang but I'm just speaking for myself na
Mm-mm.
kasi marami naman ako nakilala na women artists na not as much but ang lakas ng trabaho. So
Mm.
para sa akin, it's not the number of
Yeah.
artists but
Mm-mm.
yung
Yung
sinasabi ng work,
Oo.
yung quality din ng work.
Mhm.
So, and and most of these artists hanggang ngayon, nakakapag-practice pa rin. So, I guess that says so much about, na siguro iba lang din talaga yung opportunity. But maybe may privilege din kasi sila economically that they are able to pursue this up until now.
Mm-mm.
Tsaka ngayon, I don't think so. Kaya siguro parang masyadong, ewan ko, parang sobrang given na, women artist show, mostly women artist show. Ngayon parang, I mean after doing such shows, parang ayoko na, parang saturated na. Parang kung gagawa naman, makaiba. Tsaka lalo na, hindi na ngayon just about women.
Mm-mm.
Diba, meron na like embracing all gender,
Yeah.
binary, etc., etc.
Mm-mm.
So, baka tanggalin na lang natin yung
Yung
mga
labels.
yung mga labels. Or kasi yung iba, para maiba naman, dun sa ibang galleries, ginagawa nilang token shows. Parang tama
Mm-mm.
na. Ayun. Yun. I
We
mean,
have
let's look for the work lang mismo.
yeah, yung
Hindi yung
strength ng
dahil
work. Mm-mm. A question from Christian Ibanez. Since your work is multi-directional, can you please expound more on what your work is about? I think more of your practice, no? Is there a common thread that binds your works together? Sorry for not getting it. So siguro parang just to
okay.
summarize what you present.
Hindi ko rin mag-get. Sabi ng nanay ko, naalala ko yung sabi ng nanay ko eh. Kasi nung nagsisimula ako, para ka lang ba naglalaro? Siguro, kasi gusto ko dun sa art ko, nag-enjoy ako. At the same time, parang napapag-isip din ako. Napapag-isip ko rin yung ibang tao.
Mm-mm.
Pero mahal ko rin kasi yung eksenang kinabibilangan ko. So, ewan ko kung nagbe-make sense yun. Pero, kasi yun yung paligid ko eh.
Mm.
I mean, ano nga ba? Ang hirap talaga. Dahil malikot lang siguro yung ano ko.
Pero I think tama yung yung sinabi mo na yung tinitignan mo is your your community, no? The circle that you work with, you're part of, and you use that as jumping points, no?
Jumping point. Kasi
For
parang,
your different projects.
at saka ano rin, if I cannot write, if I cannot write criticism about
Mm-mm.
what I see, I mean, beyond the art community, I mean, I just make art out of it, no?
Mm-hmm.
So, it would seem like some works of mine are making fun of the scene. So, I guess that's the point.
Mm-mm.
Or making fun or making commentary. But at the same time, hindi lang naman kasi yun yung mundo ko.
Mm-mm.
The art scene also belongs in a bigger world. So, may dalawang ano siya, inner outer. Yung sigurong pinagpo-focusan ko, my scene and the world in general. So, ngayon, yung works na the world in general, tumatalon din siya ng medium at saka format. So, right now, nagwa-watercolor ako because the medium or format that I work in is dictated also by the circumstances, current
Yeah.
circumstances of the team. Or kung ano yung available rin na
Mm-mm.
ma-access ko na materials. So, parang ano yun eh, it feeds off yung general reality and the reality, I mean, it feeds off each other.
I guess it's also well, siguro in line with our selection of guest speakers, we also wanted to parang focus on art practices that are not the traditional yung nakapeg sa specific medium or form. And in this way, we feel that your practice is really quite contemporary because it addresses different issues. And then again, you're also responsive to issues about access to resources. So yung ganong sensitivities na I feel, especially as I said, this program started as a material we want to develop for high school students not taking up the contemporary art module in their respective schools. So it's really a way of showing them the different approaches in contemporary art practice. So, sige, let me just read. Well, there's another question from Diane Ginto. Can you give me some names of galleries, collectors, or agents that would be interested in my art? Diane, baka hindi ito yung this might not be a platform. Maybe you can, well, also we don't know what is your
What's your art?
art. What is it about? What is your style? So, parang hindi ito yung venue to answer that. No?
Your generation, Dayan. I guess you're from the younger set. You are very lucky. You
Yeah.
have social media to showcase your works. So,
So,
maybe from your postings on your social media, you can attract a buyer or a gallery already.
and you
Wala
don't
kang
even
ganyan nun.
pero again I have to commend you, your group, your colleagues, no, for creating, for helping, no, being part of the fundraising programs that have during this lockdown period, and you have helped
Thank you. guys
your
also for support.
your fellow artists, pati yung mga mga fund yung mga recipients ng fundraising nyo. Kaya yun nga, art is essential. Artists are essential.
Is essential, of course. Kasi, eto nga, di ba, I guess, marami nang nagsabi nito na, kasi, to while away the time during the pandemic, walang art, anong gagawin nyo?
Yeah, di ba?
Wala kayong makikita.
Okay, meron comment from Silvana Diaz, our friend, the galleries de Mila, of Galeria de Mila. Curator has a much wider role. Curator chooses the artist, follow up their production, makes art brochures, write and about the artist's body of work. Artists design, exhibit only. Should they be called designers? I just have to clarify, Silvana, the projects that Lena has done and other artists who have taken up the role as also as curator does everything that you mentioned. They were not just designing the exhibition. They were not just installing. So alam ko, at least with Lena, I've worked with her, and I actually invited her to curate an exhibition, and she did all of those. Yun. So as curator, so I don't know.
But there is such a thing as exhibit designer.
Yes,
Meron
yes,
naman
there
talaga
is.
naman.
Yeah.
And that person can work with a curator kasi minsan a curator has difficulty imagining the space.
That's true.
Yeah.
So importante rin yung ganung collaboration.
Collaboration. Oo. Of course, we don't get, 'di ba, discount naman what people can do. Who else?
Okay. Meron pa bang yeah, siguro yung isang question ko actually has to do with with yun nga yung your being part of a particular generation that, as you said, was at the cusp of changes in technology. Do you think there were advantages to that? That you started being you joined the art scene at that time, and now you're I wouldn't say veteran is too old. You're an established artist.
Junior daw eh.
Hindi ka na junior eh.
Diba? Oh my God. I guess
you think may advantages dun?
We were just working with what we are given at that particular time, no? Mas may effort kami. But at the same time, andyan yung burgeoning technology. Although, hindi pa rin talaga yung social media. Pero siguro, alam namin yung difficulties of either operating in either the analog way or in the digital way. Pero, yung parang nung nagkaroon kami ng forum sa CCP, na nagtaka ako dun sa ibang ka-generation ko, parang sila yung may resistance sa online presence. So ako rin actually may resistance din ako kahit papaano.
But when was this? When was that forum?
Last 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago? Okay. Yung 13 artist,
yung 13
yung parang
artist,
reunion.
Tapos, yung generation na Dr. Carayo, sige lang. Kasi parang they grew up with this, with the virtual digital world. Kami siguro parang, we're at the cusp nga na parang, we were doing things, outside, yung not minding or not, parang, hindi naman addicted. Hindi,
obsessed?
Somehow, hindi nagfa-follow dun masyado dun sa having an continual online presence as much as possible. We work. Not oversharing. I guess yun din, we were the generation that we don't have to share everything or post everything. Ganon. So parang napapag-isip pa kami, is it worth sharing? Is it worth posting?
Oo.
Parang ganon. And
Ina-evaluate
also,
niyo pa muna.
and also understanding how yung parang how certain technology works. And yung ano rin, yung parang yung ewan ko, para sa akin, yung philosophical effect, philosophical understanding nung ano, nung pagtalon din nung ano, nung technology.
Technology. Oo.
Oo. So parang anong difference nung presence nung TV, analog, kesa dun sa digital. Parang, yun nga, siguro kami yung ano, yung naiwan dun sa yung si Walter Benjamin na work of
Benjamin,
art in the
oo.
age of mechanical reproduction.
Oo.
Eh ngayon, simulation na. So parang, kaya siguro, from my generation na may resistance sa online presence, na overwhelmed and somehow natatakot dun, hindi naman natatakot, or parang kinda disturbed with the progression, sobrang progression ng technology, with the simulation and everything, and yung post-truth, tapos yung kakabasa ko lang na parang you can recreate and revise history. And nandun kami dun sa post-ed sa martial law. Shit, kung mare-revise ng ganun-ganun na lang, parang mawawalan kami ng parang boses or space to affirm that these things happen.
Yeah.
So, parang nasa amin tuloy, siguro sa generation namin, na ano yung responsibility ng archiving to preserve history. To document.
It's interesting yung your project with Yasmin Sison, yung Alice and Lucinda, was in a way playing around with that idea, no, of rewriting history by placing yourselves literally in those dioramas. But now it's not a joke. It's a problem that we need to address, and we need to be cautious and conscious. No?
Cautious, conscious, and vigilant. Eh, yun din kasi siguro yung difference with that is parang we are still using medium like photography that uses film, that still has materiality, that gives evidence to its veracity. Eh ngayon wala na. It's all flattened by data. Kaya nakatakot.
Okay, we have another question again from Diane Ginto. Every artist has a handful of other artists that they look to for inspiration and guidance. Is there a particular artist that inspired you to pursue art? Whose techniques do you study or admire? Kasi these are actually questions that are often, that the high school students would often ask.
Oo nga.
Meron ba?
Hi, Dayan. Ngayon, hindi na. Marami na ako masyadong. I mean, like now, hindi ako masyadong tumitingin sa art. Mas nanonood ako ng movies. And mas nagbabasa ako ng graphic novels and comics. And mas nagbabasa ng libro. So, ngayon, I'm in a Werner Herzog phase.
Wow.
Yeah. Oo. Kasi meron siyang importante. Mabigat, pero hindi. I mean, his documentaries are very engaging, and I don't know, his voice is very soothing for me. Kasi while I work, I like to listen to a lot of podcasts. So,
okay.
Yeah. So, he has a film school called Rogue Film School, and primary advice niya is to read. So, read and observe, I guess. And he has recommended a particular book na hirap hanapin, The Peregrine. Ang ganda ng description. Ayun.
Peregrine.
So, I mean, inspiration can be anything, not just from art lang. Artist lang. Although meron din ako, syempre, I admire my friends. Mutual Admiration Society.
Kailangan nyo yun eh.
And sila Jaime de Guzman because of the subject matter. Yun. But it changes.
Yeah. Okay. From Crindle Garcia, again from Facebook Live. I was once asked by a friend about contemporary art like video or sound art installation as to who will buy them. Unlike with the traditional paintings, sculpture that you can easily display, as a curator, how will you explain this to possible buyers? Is it something that you need to address when you curate exhibitions?
Pero kasi when in a gallery, the marketing side is usually handled already by the gallery. As a curator, as much as possible, you should not handle the marketing side.
Yeah, that's
Kasi
true.
that will kind of, hindi naman taint the practice. Kasi magiging na yan eh. If you're always considering the marketing side when you organize shows, you'll be focused now on just the sellability. Wala na yung experimentation and exploring the ideas.
Yeah.
Now, the idea now will be to sell the show and to sell the artist. Ngayon, with regards to how to sell installation art, and up to the buyer, I mean to them, if they have asked, if they have spent considerable time looking at the work. If not, don't bother. Yun lang naman yan. Kasi pilitin mo siya at mag-hard sell ka. Because they will, people will go and focus on a work that they're interested in. No matter if it's a video or a painting. Yeah.
I guess one way of answering the question also is based on what we have witnessed happening in the local art scene at least. A number of collectors have been more open to video media-based works. And this is I think it has encouraged also more practitioners, not necessarily because there are more buyers, but because there is more interest, at least in looking at the works. So,
Yeah.
yeah, pero it also boils down to yung kung interesado talaga yung buyer. Hindi problema
That's
hindi mo kailangang i-hard sell, di ba?
Yeah. Oo. Kasi it will come. And he will ask questions talaga. At saka, first and foremost, andun siya, pupunta siya sa show na yun na may ganung works. Oo.
Alam niya dapat what to expect, no?
Tsaka, I guess may familiarity na rin what is video, hindi yung parang magkukwento ka na ng history ng video art because that is a long story. Yeah.
Siguro maganda rin magtanong sila sa ibang collectors na have acquired media-based works, how they
I guess they
manage it,
because
no?
they have Oo. But that's why it's important also na all that explaining should not necessarily be focused lang dun sa curator. So yun din pala nung I was organizing shows, particularly with yung commercial spaces. Ay para sinasama ko rin yung staff going around the show, explaining the works and what the show is about. Para kahit wala kami, mapapaliwanag rin nila. This is some gallery goer.
Yeah.
So, training din.
So, I think, wala na tayong mga questions. Baka, I just want to note when you were describing what you were doing, yung sa the Weather Bureau, yung nagka-create kayo ng parang disaster scenes. You were
Yeah.
literally playing God, no?
Yes, we are. Oo. Kasi,
Um, was what was it like? And this was during a period na literally marami bang natural disasters tayong na experience noon? Was it around that time? Hindi naman.
yeah. Ondoy.
Oo,
It was
yung
during
Ondoy.
the Ondoy. And, yun nga, at that time, dinidiscuss namin yung Third Reich. Yung what if Hitler was an artist, ganon. So, tapos we were discussing rin yung concept ng fascism eh. Sabi ko, di ba, you wanted to control and maintain and create a world. So how do you do that, di ba? We only have art to be able to parang to practice that safely. And hindi naman safely, theoretically pala. Theoretically. Kasi I was reading a lot also on yung ruins, yung theory ng ruins na parang usually authoritarian regimes have this facade mentality. So that parang not just na long-lasting yung monuments in honor of the regime, but because they are built to be ruined in a certain way. So parang the immortality comes with not being a pristine facade or structure, but being ruined in a certain fashion, but retaining it. Parang that's how they will retain yung yun nga, longevity, mortality, monumentality pala. Monumentality because of yung ruin, yun nga, ruin value.
Parang may
Ganon.
patina, no?
Oo. So parang mas may history. So kung mas may history, mas may weight, di ba? Mas may veracity rin. So I guess, so yun yung theory ng ruin value. Noon. So parang tinranslate namin dun sa disasters na parang, hindi na tayo gagawa ng facade. We just make the disasters themselves. And make the disasters the one that's more lasting dun sa photo. Yun.
Yeah, I think yung state description ng mother mo, nung nanay mo sa practice mo na para kang naglalaro is true, no? Pero of course, at the same time, yung lalim nung kasi nga, it was quite obvious that when you were referring to your projects, they were based on texts that you have read, no? So they were very much informed by the ideas of different thinkers, which, as you said, is an important aspect in any artist's practice, no? So for young artists who are listening, baka meron kang yung words of advice, wisdom na rin.
Hindi ko alam words of advice. I'm just going to echo what Werner Herzog said. Read.
Read. Yes.
Oo nga. Tapos, ayun, if they can listen to podcast that I am currently listening to now, like 99% Invisible, Imaginary Worlds, kalimutan ko na yung iba.
Ayan, maraming niyan, magsa-search niyan, mag-google niyan.
20,000 hertz, it's about sound. 20,000 hertz. The ways of hearing pala, ways of hearing.
Kasi may ways of seeing di ba? So ngayon ways of hearing naman.
Si John Berger yung ways of seeing. Si ways of hearing, kalimutan ko na nung name niya, pero taga-banda siya. Kaya, okay. Anyway, lang naman siya, 6 episodes lang siya. So, yun lang. Manood ng maraming yung movies na nakakapag-isip So, I will also plug yung yung Daang Docu kasi total libre naman siya. So, tapos hanggang end of October siya. Every week it changes. So
Mm-mm.
currently, since October is National Indigenous Peoples Month, they have several. They have all the documentaries about yun nga, indigenous culture, indigenous people, and one of them is Kidlat Tahimik's Memories of Overdevelopment.
Yes.
So yun, kakapanood ko lang nun kanina. Yun.
O, pinalabas namin yun dito last year, I think. We have
Nagbabago-bago
screening,
siya,
ano.
katakat.
Oo. Iba yung
Hanga
ibang
yan.
edition, ano. Oh,
Ibang
yes,
edition siya.
yeah, thank you for bringing that up, no, yung Daang Docu. We actually, our last speaker, si Kiri Delena, was featured in the
was a
first
work
batch, no. Yung
She has
yung kay Kiri.
a work also for this batch again. Yung tungkong lang.
Tungkong langit,
Oh.
yeah. Siguro yung I just remembered another project or art practice that you've been doing is landscape art. Can you?
Yeah. Currently, oo nga, that's what I'm currently doing now. Tsaka that informs also yung my other collaboration with the Weather Bureau. So offshoot nun is me concentrating more on landscape, land art. So I'm doing maps. I'm parang the idea is ideating what is the concept of land. And kasi ano parang connected din siya sa building a utopia. And for me, art is a utopia. It can be dystopia. Kasi it can be perfection for you, di ba? So, in a way, marami kasi political, historical, etc. connotation ng land. So, hindi ko pa resolve. So, I'm exploring yung concept ng land by way of making maps and patterns, etc.
And you did, was the work that you did for Manila Biennale 2 years ago the first? Was that the first? Or hindi?
2008 Biennale?
Yung Manila Biennale.
Manila Biennale. That was the first. Yung landscape camouflage. Ay,
Well,
sorry, wala
hopefully
akong
we can do something here in Ateneo, no? We were talking about that, yun lang na lockdown. Medyo, siguro pagka bumalik na tayo sa normal operations, we'll pursue the idea again. No?
Yeah. The thing is, important pala for me because it's my answer to the West Philippines Sea issue and sovereignty. Ayun pala, kaya pala I'm into maps because of yung
that,
political
issue.
bearing. Yeah, not just because of that issue, but because where we are right now, our places where we are right now is constantly changing rulers, geological evolution, etc. So yun, that's what I'm exploring.
Okay, so thank you, Lena. It was an interesting conversation with you. Thank you for sharing your different projects in the past so many years.
Wow, yes.
I think
Thank
we did promise the attendees via Zoom a zine. Am I right?
Two zines. I wasn't
zines.
able to show the other one.
Okay, so
yung yung promo show that I did. Pero pag
we'll
nakuha na lang
them.
nila.
So those who registered via Zoom will receive a zine, a PDF, no? Zine. So may mga nag-react na, oh my God, thank you. Oh, thank you daw. So thank you din.
Congratulations to all of you. You'll get a You'll get zines pala. Two zines.
Two zines. Okay.
Thank you all for coming.
Ano yun? So hindi pwede ba nila i-share yon? Ano ba yun?
Pwede. I mean, these are not limited run zines. So, one of the zine that they'll be getting is the zine catalog that I showed earlier from the
yung
show.
Mga women artists.
Yeah, yung Bull in the Heather. And the other one is a catalog of a show I did with Maria Taniguchi for Magnet. It's called Hangover Square. So,
Hangover Square.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yun,
we look
the
forward.
scene has letters between me and Maria
Mm,
and
okay.
Karina.
Karina
So,
Evangelista.
Karina Evangelista. So,
Okay,
there.
thank you. Thank you for your kindness. Sabi ni Silvana, excited to read it.
Oh, wow. Wow,
So
I'm so honored that
thank you
Silvan.
for all, to everyone who attended the Zoom webinar, and also to our guests via Facebook Live. So thank you again, Lena. Uh,
Thank
we
you. Thank you.
we look forward to I look forward to working with you on that project, no, in the near future once we've
Me
sorted
too.
out the
Super.
schedules. So we'd like
Mhm.
to invite everyone again to join us on October 21 for our next ArtSpeak online with Datu Arellano, another artist who works with technology, media-based. He has a very with sound, especially. And then that's on October 21. Please note the time is 3:30 to 5:30. The reason being he requested to move it after 3 because he has two young kids that he helps in their homeschooling, no, yung ay ano to, online classes. So 3:30 is the best time for him to conduct this webinar. On November 18, we are featuring Vic Balanon, another artist that Lena also mentioned. Magkasama sila dun sa um, ano nga, future, sorry, future prospects, hindi future, lost frames, sorry, I keep
The
forgetting,
Lost
lost frames,
Friends.
yes.
We've done
Um,
a lot of projects before na rin.
mm-mm.
Yata.
Vic also has a very interesting practice. He joined the art scene quite uh, well, relatively recent, but he had a very his practice in production, animation, very much informs his work. And after that, later in November, we are actually finalizing plans. The lineup of a panel. We are starting a series that will feature artists from outside of Metro Manila. We thought that because we're doing this online, it's actually much easier, more manageable to work with our artists even from a distance. So we'll keep you posted once we have that finalized. Where we're quite excited with that. The series of panel discussions with artists from different parts of the country. And please keep uh, checking our website and our online platforms through Facebook and Instagram. So thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time.